For the first time in decades, a U.S. soldier is reportedly in North Korea's custody. The American soldier crossed the demarcation line into North Korea on Tuesday, and in the latest, the soldier has been identified as Travis King by the U.S. Army. It should be noted that King is a cavalry scout who joined the military in January of 2021. The U.S. Army has now said that King, quote-unquote, willfully and without authorization crossed into North Korea while taking a civilian tour of the joint security area. This area is a small collection of buildings inside the 150-mile-long demilitarized zone that has separated North and South Korea since the end of the Korean War in 1953. The U.S. military officials have also confirmed that they are working with their counterparts from the Korean People's Army. What's rather strange are reports that the American soldier was due to face disciplinary action by the U.S. military. Reportedly, King had finished serving time in detention in South Korea for an unspecified infraction. But he was not in custody at the time he decided to flee. If we speak of past defections, there have been quite a few, in fact. But perhaps the most famous case is that of a U.S. soldier crossing into North Korea, and that was of Charles Jenkins. Jenkins, a U.S. Army sergeant, crossed into the North in 1965 while stationed at a U.S. military unit near the DMZ. Those are visuals of Jenkins. Jenkins later had claimed to have regretted his defection and blamed the decision on alcohol. While in North Korea, he appeared in propaganda films, even taught North Korean spies English, and spent up to 8 hours a day studying the writings of North Korean leaders. He was finally allowed to leave North Korea back in 2004 after quite a few decades. Now, what stands out is that relations between Washington and Pyongyang have been fraught for quite a while, but lately they seem to have hit their lowest point. Let's try and gauge if there's any hope for the young cavalry scout Travis King. We'll also try and decode the timing of Travis King's detention. But before that, let me play out some reactions.
And so we're closely monitoring and investigating the situation and working to notify the soldiers next of kin and engaging to address this incident. In terms of my concerns, I'm absolutely foremost concerned about the welfare of our troop. And so we will remain focused on this. And again, this will develop in the next several days and hours, and we'll keep you posted. And so we're closely monitoring and investigating the situation and working to notify the soldiers next of kin and engaging to address this incident. In terms of my concerns, I'm absolutely foremost concerned about the welfare of our troop. And so we will remain focused on this. And again, this will develop in the next several days and hours, and we'll keep you posted.
In the afternoon of July 18th, local time, a U.S. soldier on a private JSA orientation tour crossed willfully and without authorization the military demarcation line into the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And we believe the soldier is currently in DPRK custody and are working with our North Korean counterparts to resolve this incident. In the afternoon of July 18th, local time, a U.S. soldier on a private JSA orientation tour crossed willfully and without authorization the military demarcation line into the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And we believe the soldier is currently in DPRK custody and are working with our North Korean counterparts to resolve this incident.
한미 사이에 첫 핵그룹 이제 회의가 열리고
North Korea will think the US has lost face because the US soldier voluntarily defected to the North at a time when the first nuclear consultation group meeting between South Korea and the US was held, and a US nuclear submarine entered the port of Busan today.
긴장되어 있던 이 상황에
All right, let me introduce my guest today. I'm joined in by Andy Kaiser, who's a senior fellow at the National Security Institute and also the former senior advisor to the House Intel Committee. Thank you so much, Andy, for joining in. Let's talk about...
Nice to be with you.
For a country that doesn't even have diplomatic relations at the moment with North Korea and with Pyongyang ramping up its missile and nuclear programs, why is the timing particularly difficult for Travis King and Washington?
Well, it's such a strange case, as your piece correctly outlined, and one we haven't seen a U.S. service member go north from the South Korean side. I've actually been to that demilitarized zone where he made the run for it. We haven't seen that since the early 1980s. So this has been a while. As you mentioned in the run up, it appears that the soldier Private King had no intention other than trying to get away from his own potential justice after getting into what sounds like maybe a bar fight in South Korea. He got into some trouble. He was held in a South Korean jail, which is not entirely uncommon for young people to do, to make mistakes while they're serving overseas, whether it's in South Korea or Japan or other locations, and that he was maybe even going to be kicked out of the army when he returned to the United States. So it appears that his intentions were nothing other than, I want to get out of my own predicament here. But the North won't see it that way, as your question alludes to. The North is very conspiratorial. They will see this as a direct relation to their activities, their provocations, and probably incorrectly surmise that that's having a major impact on the U.S. military and U.S. National security policy. And I would be surprised if they didn't try to take advantage of this, keep Private King held for some period of time, negotiate some ridiculous terms for his release that would not be reciprocal to the action, but a very strange case.
Right. Travis is in a country with an autocratic regime, one that regards the U.S. as its mortal enemy. What are the risks for Travis King?
I think they'll probably take decent care of him, though you did have the Otto Wembler situation where he was comatized and in very poor health, returned to the United States during the Trump administration and subsequently passed away, sadly. So there is always that risk. My guess is they'll want to keep him in good health to use him as leverage, as a bargaining chip. The North Koreans have done this many times in the past. You've mentioned others have gone north, whether it's Christian missionaries or a handful of others that have made that very strange choice to travel into maybe the most isolated country on earth.
Right. What are the possibilities, Andy, that he could be used as a bargaining chip by the North, or going by the past examples of Sergeant Jenkins, could he also be used as propaganda material for the North?
You can count on it. He will be used as propaganda. The North Koreans, to their own population, obviously don't have much to offer. They have this horrific economy, this human rights crisis, people not being able to get enough to eat. COVID apparently was very, very hard on the North, and the healthcare system is anemic at best. Obviously, you have probably the most authoritarian country on earth, as well as the most isolated. So they don't have much to offer. So they will try to take any little tidbit of, perhaps a dose of reality in what they're saying, and then expound that to toll the credentials of the ruling regime there in North Korea and the dictatorship, and to Chairman Kim. They will absolutely take every advantage of this situation as humanly possible. Propaganda domestically, propaganda internationally, and then, as I said, to exert some kind of concessions from the United States and the West. They are pros at doing this, and I would not expect them to do anything else.
Andy, last but not the least, in 2018, Sweden had helped the United States to negotiate with North Korea when Americans were held in their custody. Should we now expect Sweden to take on that same role?
Yes, Sweden does represent the U.S. interests directly with the North Koreans inside of Pyongyang. It's not the only situation where this happens. This has happened in Iran, in other countries. So the Swedes will be our interlocutors, and as I said, that is not a new dynamic. They have been doing that for a number of decades. Obviously, direct negotiations were taking place during the last administration when President Trump was trying to engage in direct diplomacy. So this is not an uncharted water, though it is a interesting kind of unique situation where you have another government representing the interests of a third.